Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're actually dissecting a classic business dilemma. Picture this. You've got a massive, incredibly lucrative project sitting right in front of you, but you just can't tackle it alone. You need a team. But here's the catch. You absolutely, positively do not want to get tangled up in some permanent, lifelong business entity, right? You just want to get in, crush the objective, share the rewards, and, well, get out? So it really begs the question, how exactly do you partner up without making it permanent? Because let's face it, committing to a traditional long-term structure can be insanely restrictive. I mean, it ties up your capital, your brand equity, and honestly, your future flexibility. You're looking for a framework that's perfectly tailored for, essentially, a hit-and-run mission in the business world. Section 1. Decoding the joint venture. Let's set our baseline. So what exactly is this highly effective tool we're talking about? Well, a joint venture is, right at its core, a temporary partnership. It's basically when two or more people agree to jointly execute a very specific project and then share the profits on a completely predetermined basis. You pool your resources, your capital, your specialized skills, the whole shebang. But the absolute magic ingredient here, it's that built-in expiration date. The relationship automatically dissolves the very second the objective is complete. You build a bridge, you sell the bridge, and you part ways. Simple as that. But, and this is a really crucial distinction here, while it operates a lot like a temporary partnership out there in the real world, the source material explicitly notes that in a strict legal sense, it is not a partnership. The law actually views this temporary alliance quite differently, which honestly sets us up perfectly for our first major comparison. Section 2, Joint Venture versus Partnership. Let's look at the differences. Now, this is the primary source of confusion for so many entrepreneurs. You're probably thinking, if we're working together for profit, why isn't it just a partnership? Well, look at the firm name and duration. A traditional partnership is built to last, right? You operate under a dedicated name and you build brand equity over years and years. But a joint venture, it needs zero firm name, absolutely none. You don't have to waste weeks arguing over a logo or a color scheme because the entity's entire lifespan is strictly tied to that one specific task. And, this contrast gets even sharper when we look at the admin side of things. A traditional partnership carries a pretty heavy administrative lift. Registration is highly desirable, and you literally must maintain a completely separate, dedicated set of accounting books. But with a joint venture, there's absolutely no need for registration. And legally, you don't even need separate books. Accounts can easily be maintained in the existing ledgers of just one or even all of the co-ventures. It is incredibly lean, fast, and efficient. Okay, now what's really interesting about this next point, and perhaps its most powerful advantage, is competitive freedom. So in a formal partnership, you have a strict fiduciary duty to not cannibalize your own firm, meaning carrying on a competing business is strictly prohibited. But in a joint venture, co-ventures are entirely free to run similar businesses right alongside the project. It's wild. You could literally collaborate with a fierce rival to build a massive skyscraper together while still fiercely competing through your own independent construction firms on other projects across town. However, there is a hard boundary when it comes to who can actually participate. In a standard partnership, a minor can sometimes be admitted to the benefits of the firm, but in a joint venture, no way. A minor is strictly barred under any circumstances. And the reason makes sense, because a joint venture is fundamentally a specific binding agreement, and minors are legally incompetent to enter into contracts. They just cannot sign on the dotted line. Moving on to Section 3, Joint Venture versus Consignment. Let's talk operational control. When you're setting up an agreement, you really have to ask yourself, are you stepping in as an equal partner, or are you just an agent moving someone else's goods? Because that's the core difference between a joint venture and a consignment. Consignments generally only deal with the continuous sale of movable goods. Think like a manufacturer sending shoes to a retailer indefinitely. But a joint venture is vastly broader than that. It can involve literally any commercial activity, from real estate development to building a software platform, and as we know, it comes to a hard definitive stop once the objective is met. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive differences in your day-to-day power. In a consignment, you're looking at a strict principal and agent dynamic. The consignee is really just an agent following orders. The consignor holds all the funds, retains sole ownership of the goods, and keeps all the actual profit. They're just paying out a commission. But in a joint venture, you are co-venturers. You have equal authority to make decisions. You're both contributing to a common pool of funds. You share joint ownership of the assets. And crucially, you share the actual profits. You aren't just taking orders, you're sharing the risk and the reward equally. Now, here is a rather surprising fact for anyone handling the back end of the business. If you're running a consignment, there is really only one standardized method for maintaining those accounts. But because a joint venture is fundamentally built on flexibility, there are actually 4 different legal methods for maintaining your accounts. You literally get to choose the accounting style that perfectly fits the exact needs of your specific alliance. Section 4, Choosing Your Business Path. Let's look at the practical impacts. So we've covered a lot of technical ground today, but knowing these distinctions isn't just, legal trivia. It is quite literally the blueprint for your business freedom. Choosing a joint venture dictates exactly how you manage your money through flexible accounting. It guarantees your operational control as an equal voice. It establishes clear profit-sharing rules. And honestly, most importantly, it draws those crucial legal boundaries that allow you to tackle massive, ambitious projects while maintaining your primary business, all without the heavy burden of a permanent partnership. When you structure your collaborations correctly, you empower yourself to scale up without losing your independence. So as you plan your next big move, I want you to ask yourself, what is your next joint venture going to be? And based on the rules of authority and funds we just covered, who is really holding the purse strings? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.